Good evening and welcome to the January 14th meeting of the Ames Community School District Board of Directors. In the interest of the public forum, I'd like to move the forum ahead of the discussion items tonight on the agenda.
Move approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved by Deerdorf, seconded by Rosser. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Thank you. Director Perez, will you please read our purpose statement?
The Ames Community School District commits to equity and access that empowers every individual to reach their full personal and educational potential.
Thank you very much. Before we get into our meeting, I have the privilege this evening to introducing Jonas Michael, or should I say reintroducing Jonas Michael. He is back today as our new Ames Middle School principal, and Jonas, we're thrilled to have you back in town, so thank you. All right, I will go ahead and read our statement pertaining to our public forum. Residents of the district, students attending the district, parents or guardians of students attending the district, and district staff members may address the board about any topic relevant to the district, whether on the current agenda or not. Those who wish to speak must sign up at the beginning of the meeting. Speaker participation is limited to 3 minutes once per item. The views and opinions of citizens addressing the board do not necessarily reflect those of the board, district administration, or staff. Speakers are to remember that Iowa law prohibits the board from discussing specific employees, students, or their performance. Student speakers will state their name and school. Others will state their name and address.
And so I appreciate the turnout tonight, and those of you that have emailed me, I have definitely read them. I've been listening. I hear the concerns from the community, and just maybe the sense that this wasn't as transparent as we would like it to be and you would like it to be. So please know that we are listening. We take that into consideration, and definitely will make changes to our processes in the future to ensure that it's more transparent. That being said, I think this is one of those situations where we definitely had a plan in place to roll out and to include staff in the process. There are things that we want to tell employees ahead of time, and this was one of them. And before we had an opportunity to really go through our process with staff, it got to this point. So definitely apologize for that. And understanding that, when I came on, I was very clear about what my purposes and priorities were as I assessed the district. Aligning career technical education to solid pathways that lead to certification was one of my top priorities. And so in doing that, I use my resources around me, the business leaders that I have been meeting with, DMAC, our community partners, and ensuring that I can offer programs that are in high impact, high demand areas that maybe our community doesn't already have in place. So in implementing an ag program, DMAC, in our conversations, DMAC does not offer an ag program. In the future in the Future Ready Iowa data, it is listed as statewide the #1 job increase area, with approximately, and I'm looking at it right now, 1,600 approximate jobs projected annually. So knowing those things and knowing what we're being asked from our business leaders, that was a direction that we are going to move. I want to be clear on something that I think was miscommunicated. The intent is not in any way to eliminate FCS courses long-term. In order to implement a program, we have budget restraints that, obviously we have other areas in the high school that also need to be addressed. We have some core classes, many core classes, I think, that are at or near capacity. And so in order to address some of those areas, get our pathways in CTE aligned and leading to career certification, this was a necessary step in eliminating, I believe it's 4 courses that FCS currently has this semester. And so this is something that, of course, would go into effect for next year. Again, we had a process laid out to involve stakeholders, and it's unfortunate that, in our effort to communicate with the teacher that it led to this, but definitely some lessons learned, and we're going to work hard at the transparency as we move forward.
And first on the public forum sign-up is Anita Rollins.
Good evening. My name is Anita Rollins, and I live at 3714 Woodland Street. I am a member of the Ames Youth and School Action Team, or ASAT. ASAT is a nonpartisan and apolitical group of concerned citizens whose intention is to shine light on racial and ethnic disparities that exist throughout the Ames School District. I wanted to take this opportunity to commend you for the work you've done related to educational equity by commissioning an equity committee and calling for its first report. As a former school board member from 2006 to 2009 and the parent of 5 adult children who spent at least some of their academic career in Ames, I know both how challenging and time-consuming your work is, as well as how important. I also know that you take on this work with a sincere desire to see good things happen for the young people that this school district serves. I also wanted to commend you because although school districts all over this country face this same challenge, ensuring equitable educational outcomes for all students, not every school district is willing to address it. I wish that during my time of service on the school board that we would have been able to have the type of data and discussions that you are engaged in. Many school boards and districts fear that talking about working towards equity will diminish the perception of the school district among the public. As a result, they compromise fulfillment of their school district mission statements rather than doing the hard work needed to serve all students well. Within the new equity report, there are 12 specific recommendations provided. Some of those recommendations can be addressed immediately, such as ensuring consistency and discipline and reassessing staff recruitment strategies. Others may take some time. For instance, the board is waiting for the results of the Teaching and Learning Committee's review related to culturally relevant curriculum, and improving data collection processes and methods may require time spent analyzing what is done currently. The community hopes that this is only the first report of the Equity Committee, that updates are provided, and that more equity issues are addressed within the district. We also look forward to learning very soon your plan and timeline for addressing the 12 specific recommendations at the structural level. But most of all, we look forward to hearing how Ames Community School District, with the unique set of resources it has at its disposal, improves educational outcomes for its currently underserved students. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Anita. Melissa Woodworth.
Hi, I'm Melissa Woodworth. I live at 2004 Burnett. I guess the reason I came today, I have spoke to Elisa Franson and Luke Deerdorf over our middle school issue with the principal. Obviously, that is said and done. I need some clarification because we're using one word and we're using this word a lot, and the community has asked over and over again, what exactly is a stakeholder? And when you have meetings with these stakeholders, how do you choose these stakeholders to make sure that you're getting all opinions and all voices are heard? It's come up in the issue of the middle school principal and what happened with him. It's come up now with the high school issue. And then I hear we also have an elementary issue that we've pulled a principal out of 2 schools as assistant, and he is now in, now we have 2 full-time principals at 1 school. So, and how do you get a ticket to the stakeholder meeting? Because I'd like to apply.
Okay, thank you very much. We won't answer any questions.
Okay.
Sorry, we're not allowed to. It is an opportunity for us to hear from the public. So thank you for providing us your feedback, Melissa. Carol.
Can you use the overhead?
Pardon me?
May I use the overhead projection?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carol Van Wert Heissen. I'm a 12-and-a-half-year a teacher in family and consumer sciences. I come to you because the things that were just expressed by the superintendent have not been expressed to me, that this is perhaps a temporary dissolution of our FCS program at the high school. On the 10th of December, you received information from OPN that said the new building would not include an FCS department because we were working on an health services and also an ag program. That was not relayed to me until the 20th of December, which is the day we released for winter break. But the reason that I was told that it wasn't released to me was that my granddaughter was born, and I spent some time with her in the NICU unit. I came home every night, and so email I checked always. I had taken personal leave for that event. But what I'm here for is not my personal things, it's about the students. I think the students that are going to be losing out are those that are most critically needing the programs that we have. Unlike the superintendent mentioned to you at the 10th of December meeting, this is not just one popular class that leads nowhere. This is a series of 6 classes that are board approved that lead to a comprehensive family and consumer science, which has changed to human services pathway. This is recognized by the Department of Education. Our program is approved by them too. We've had this in the past. If you can look at the diagram on the front of your brochure, can I move this? You will see the courses, and this is the sustainable FCS framework. Notice that our first course, and you have the syllabi as well as the course descriptions in the left-hand side of your brochure. The first one is Introduction to Human Services. The second and third are Foods 1, which is Food and Nutrition 1, and also Advanced Foods. Then we go to 4 and 5, which is Child Development 1, and Child Development 2, which is Early Childhood. And the 6th of our programming is Interior Design and Housing. These are not new programs, but they were realigned to the human services framework that we work in. And I want you to know that human services is the bigger of the projects that are in occupational projections. This is the Future Ready Iowa piece from the workbook that the superintendent has referred to. The first one is farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural managers. 1,615 jobs across Iowa. You know we have 100 counties, including Story County. That's 16 per year per county. If you take the elementary school teachers, which teaching is part of the human services curriculum. If you take the secondary teachers, the middle school teachers, and the community and social service specialists, add those 4 up, you get an even greater number than ranchers or farmers who own their land. I'm sorry that this has been miscommunicated to you, that you haven't seen the big picture. The next thing I would like to bring your attention to is inside your brochure, and this is why human services are an essential career and technical program of study. That's a POS for the high school. It's because it includes these 3 areas: education and human services, hospitality and food production, and visual arts and design. And it leads to many careers. And these are just a few of the careers that we talk about and talk with the students when the introduction to human services career. But that's not the biggest crucial thing about it. The biggest thing is who I serve in these programs. These 6 classes reach 300 and some students a year. Last year, 627 signed up and wanted the courses. I've asked for 3-4 years in a row to get help, and I know budgets are tight. I used to be an administrator at Iowa Central Community College. I had to work through struggles with limited dollars. I know these things. However, you also have to have courses that your students want to attend, electives that they want to do, because that makes them come to school, that makes them have a highlight in their day, that makes them want to graduate. And that's what we're here about. Every school has courses that could perhaps be in the 6 areas. But why is it that Ames would cut a very successful program for the students to implement a brand new program? Because I don't think you can get 6 consecutive units or 3 years of a program in the first year of an ag program. I have nothing against agriculture. I grew up on a dairy farm. Thus, I have a really hard work ethic. I have nothing against having cooperation with the community college. I was in that position myself as I worked with the schools in my area. I want you to know the reason we don't have certification is that the students that took Food and Nutrition 1 and Advanced Foods could go on in their junior and senior year to the Culinary Arts program and take that for 2 years. And then they would be ushered right into to take the next courses at Ankeny's campus. I want them to do that if they want to pursue a career in culinary. We don't do the certification for food safe serve, which we could for food handlers for $50 a student. Again, another expense that DMAC had done for us. We could also do certification for early childhood development, but we don't, okay? Money is short. The student population that I serve is at least 20% IEP and special needs students. It is also ESL students and at-risk students. Please reconsider this before you approve a new program, because I don't think the new program will reach these students that are so essentially needing these skills. They're not only life skills, they are career skills, and I ask you, please reconsider. Is that my 3 minutes, Alyssa?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hannah Heckman.
Hello, my name is Anita Heckman. I'm a student at Iowa State University studying family consumer science. And I just want to speak a little bit about how I discovered the world of family consumer science and how it's affected me in my life as a college student. When I was in high school, So my name is Hannah Heckman. I'm a student at Iowa State University studying family consumer science. I just want to speak a little bit about my experience. When I was in high school, I didn't have the opportunity to study family consumer science. My high school didn't offer it, and it really wasn't spoken about or encouraged to study any of those subjects. So when I got to school, I was actually started at University of Northern Iowa, where I pursued music education. Didn't work out for me, wasn't the correct career path for me, but I kept exploring. I knew I wanted to finish school somehow. I was going to keep taking classes until I figured out what clicked for me. And it wasn't until I had to take a family studies class, just because it was the only class that was open and available to me, that I really understood my love for family studies and opened the door to family consumer science. I spent a couple more years at Iowa State at Northern Iowa, but it didn't really work out for me there until I transferred here and discovered the Family Consumer Science program. And I found out that I could study all of these different subjects and really explore different career paths, different things to research in my future, and I just knew it was the right path for me. I've been studying in this degree for a year now, and I'm really enjoying things. And I really didn't know how much of an impact this would have on my career, but also my life and my lifestyle. I think I particularly really struggled to find myself in college because I didn't really know how to take care of myself. I didn't really understand what it meant to be an adult, like a lot of us young adults feel like. I didn't know how to cook a proper meal with vegetables. I didn't know how often I should work out or how to not hurt my back and break myself and all of those fun things we all learn in adulthood. But when I explored family consumer science courses, I had a better understanding of who I could be as a person, who I needed to be as a person, and how to take care of myself so I can reach my career goals. And I think that's one of the most important things I've learned since being a student in the FCS program. And I cannot imagine what it would have been like had I had the opportunity to take some of these courses a little earlier in my career, and especially in high school. And I see a lot of my peers struggling with some of these same things, not really understanding their mental health, not really understanding their physical health, and financial health on top of that. But I think family consumer science courses can really benefit a student's life, a young adult's life, and you can't take something so foundational and so important away from them. And I really hope that you explore the world of FCS and you understand how valuable it can be to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. Cathy Monoi.
As you said, my name's Cathy Monoi. I was Smithson when I was an Ames High student. I'm part of class of 1980. I got all my education in Ames, my initial education, first grade through 12, and then I went on to Iowa State to pursue a degree in dietetics. I owe a lot of my success to background classes in science and math and all that at Ames High. I started with I'm going to say home ec. Okay, it's family consumer sciences, right? That's what it was when I was in 8th grade, and that was one of my early introductions. I had learned a lot of cooking from my mother, my aunt. I got all the cooking badges and Girl Scouts, but not every kid today has that opportunity. And I was excited to see ag classes on the future for Ames High School. My nephew went to Gilbert, and he did great with FFA and their agriculture stuff. They had family consumer science coexisting. They made it work in their budget. And I'm thinking, why can't Ames High do that? I'll look back at my notes so I don't talk too long. I've been in Ames over 50 years. I've been a dietitian for more than 30 years. And the commonality I see from young to old is people do not know how to cook. Now, that's a general statement. But if we're looking at this new requirement for seniors to be financially literate, they need to know how to cook, because we all know how expensive it is if you're eating out all the time or you're using convenient but healthy foods, as the base of your diet. So I have a passion for students with special needs too. I have a son that has some special needs. He's done with Ames High, but the fact that there's courses out there like this that can reach those students, motivate them, is something very different than a traditional classroom sitting, reading a book, and doing whatever. So much hands-on, and many kids will learn that way. And the relationships they have with their peers and with excellent teachers, I know we're not supposed to mention names, but Mrs. V over here, very, very good with students. I had an opportunity to volunteer as a parent for 5 or 6 summers in the 2-week super summer cooking class. She's awesome. Even a misbehaving kid, she can engage, redirect, and people still come away loving you, right? I think so. But there's just so much there to offer. You know, when I was in home ec, 8th grade, it was kind of like cooking and sewing, but it's way beyond baking brownies and sewing these days. She could tell you all about the interior design and all that, and I hadn't even realized how big the scope had gotten. It includes an introduction to mental health. Most students and most adults don't know what it's like to live with a mental illness or the mental illness of a family member. So this is a great opportunity for students to see what is that and to get a little inkling of what kind of jobs are out there. There's a woeful shortage of psychiatrists in Iowa and across the nation, but there's also a very short supply of people that can assist, like peer, what do they call it, peer support specialists, things like that. Someone might come through Ames High and get a little inkling of that, thinking maybe that's what they want to go into. And I hope it's really, really true what you said, this is only temporary, but I'm very concerned that the new building plan, I heard, there is no kitchens, there is nothing that looks like family consumer science class going on there. So I'm saying, please, as administration, as school board members, can you not push the pause button just for a moment? No one has dug a hole in the ground yet for that building, but stop and make sure that you're really going to include those things long term to reach the most students and have the most impact. And one other word, they say, oh, DMAC offers everything. DMAC is not the solution for the bulk of students at Ames High. Those classes like culinary arts and things like that, you cannot take anything out there till 11th and 12th grade. You have to have transportation. Some of the classes like welding are not even available here. Your child would have to go 5 days a week to Nevada for a 2-hour class, and it screws up their schedule. If they're trying to do anything special like music, art, that kind of thing, it just doesn't work. So that was a little bit discombobulated, and I'm sorry about that, but I'd say please put the pause button down for this and look back and figure out how can you get both of those kind of classes in there for long-term success. That would make me really continue to be proud of Ames High, Aiming High, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Jessennia White.
Jessennia.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is this on?
It is just going a little closer.
My name is Jessennia White. I'm a junior at Ames High. I have my notes here. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Mr. Carrico, the associate principal at Ames High, and we were going over my schedule for this upcoming second semester. My freshman year, I was signed up to be in a foods class, but due to high volume of students interested, I was unable. Again, my sophomore year and my first semester this year as a junior, both child development and foods have once again been full. Not only does that show the high interest students have for FCS classes, but it also, as I begin to prepare to go to college in the next couple of years, I know I'm going to need these skills that FCS particularly teaches. I think for my future, someday I would need to know how to prepare meals for myself. We all know how hard it can be to cook nutritional meals on a budget, and also someday, when the time comes to start a family, child development will be something I will need to know. I hope there can be some way to meet in the middle, that some way both causes can both be equally important.
Thank you. Nate Fisher.
Hello, I'm not used to public speaking, so I might be embarrassing. Sorry. My name is Nate Fisher. I live at 1130 Shoal Road. I am a chef. I grew up in Iowa, grew up in Ames. I am a sixth generation Iowegian. My grandpa's parent or family came here in the land grab, so I understand agriculture. I grew up in a farmer's market. I grew up at the depot farmer's market, actually. That's where I remember food. I've been around food my whole life, and right now, my parents are still doing farmer's market stuff, and no one knows how to cook. No one. That is a skill. It's a necessity for life, knowing how to cook. Okay? This isn't just another thing. You name a city in this town or in this country that doesn't have a restaurant that's hiring somebody. Okay, name one. I'm more than happy to listen to you, okay? It is a skill that kids can learn and right off the bat have a job while they're going to college, while they're learning how to be a banker, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be a whatever. It's all around. Every single restaurant in this country is hiring kids, and none of them know how to cook. None of them. And honestly, I went into early childhood development right out of high school. You know, I taught at daycares around town, and I walked away from it. My brother, who also is a trained chef and we both went to ICI, or DMAC as most people know it. I was fortunate enough to teach or to learn under world-renowned Lori Dowie Reeser. If you don't know who she is, she was on the 1984 culinary Olympic team for the United States and got second in the world. So I've been around food. I know what it is. I know how to cook. No one knows how to cook. There is something to be said about agriculture, and I understand the importance of agriculture. I grew up around it. My grandpa was a pig farmer. My parents, like I said, they grow produce. Some of the best in the state. We have awards to prove it. But everybody has access to a stove. Everybody has access to an oven. Name one person here who doesn't have access to a stove. No one? Okay. You know what? Even some fire on the side of the road can cook a rabbit. I mean, it's a necessity. Okay? I understand about agriculture. But if no one's cooking, no one's knowing what they're getting in their body. I mean, that's nutrition, that's obesity is a problem, and that all stems from knowing how to cook. Cooking a vegetable properly. Overcooking a vegetable, overcooking a green bean, guess what? You lose all nutrients in that green bean. You lose all nutrients in that tomato if you overcook it. And that's a foundation of life. This isn't just, making sure people have careers or whatnot. It's food. I'm sorry, I'm just sticking on the food, but it is. And you can't take that life necessity and not teach that. It's ridiculous. That's pretty much what I have to say. I'm rambling. I can go on food for hours and hours and hours. Anybody want to talk to me about food, I will talk to them. But it is, learning how to cook is a necessity. Like I said, it's knowing what's going into your body, and that's crucial for everybody. When kids go into a restaurant and not know how to cook, guess what the chef does? He grabs a boxed item. What's in that boxed item? it is crucial to the community. It is crucial to just people in general, to know how to cook, to know what to cook, and what's in your food. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to mess the last name up. Laura Van, I'm not going to try it, so thank you.
It's a lot more complicated than it is. In the effort of full transparency, I want to tell you I work at 4330 Palmer Building. I am the Iowa State FCS Education Studies Coordinator. I don't reside in Ames, however. I feel that I am a stakeholder in this community for that reason, and I ask your permission to address the board today.
Okay.
Okay. I want to start out by saying without Ames, I wouldn't exist. My parents both came here as first college students to the Iowa State University, and one of them was a home economics major, but one of them was an ag major. So I grew up with respect for both disciplines, and I truly do believe that. FCS teaches life skills, yes, but it also provides career pathways into 7 content areas which fall within the human services cluster. Way back when it was home economics, we provided the first way for women to attend college and have careers. Now we continue to serve and provide opportunities as we meet needs of higher than average needs of special ed students, at-risk students, minority students. There are certifications within FCS, certifications that are nationally recognized and managed by industries that are managed by organizations that are not for profit with it, which I think is very important when you're thinking about what a good certification is. You don't want to have a profitability tied to that. As the Vice President of the Iowa Association of Career and Technical Educators, I am in favor for any program that offers more CTE opportunities for students. However, from my own experience, there isn't much overlap between the student clientele seeking ag programs and the student clientele seeking FCS programs. I would like to see more opportunities, yes, but I don't want to see other students losing their opportunities, especially when those students have been traditionally disenfranchised by our educational system. Moving forward, I just have the following questions as you make this decision, and I hope you'll consider them as well. Why the abbreviated timeline, and would you be willing to extend the timeline out to get some more stakeholder input? When consulting Iowa State professionals, did you consult anyone outside of the College of Agriculture? I've reached out to my colleagues within the College of Human Sciences, and none of them were solicited for their feedback. So moving forward, would you be willing to discuss it with a more balanced perspective? Life skills, Superintendent Reisner has said that life skills will continue to be taught, and I do believe that. However, without the FCS classroom, I worry that will that be in the most inclusive environment as required by the IDEA? And finally, what is the budget for implementing and maintaining an ag program? From my work with the Career and Technical Education Association, I know that an ag program is costly, often more costly than an FCS program to implement and maintain. So kind of the argument is like, we don't have enough budget, so we're going to sell the Honda to lease a Mercedes-Benz on credit. So I just would like to see a budget as far as that goes. And then, are there outside contributions? Which there might be. If there are outside contributions, will those contributions still allow us the freedom to make the decisions that are in the best interest of our students moving forward? And finally, I would just ask that maybe we consider a way that all our students can have these opportunities. Thank you for allowing me to address you today, and thank you.
Thank you. Angela Shaw.
Hello, Angela Shaw, 1707 Duff Avenue. You guys see me in a lot of entities, but I am an associate professor in the Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition. And so I am a food scientist. So I've heard a lot of statistics and things being mentioned, but just to let you know, going out of college, there are 11.3 million 11.3 million jobs you can have within the food industry. If you are a dietitian or a nutrition, your median income coming out is about $58,000. So within my department, we teach the food and nutritionists, the dietitians, and all of that. But I'm not here speaking on my discipline, I am, because this is offensive, but this is life skills. Iowa is now number 4 for obesity. That is 1 in 3 Iowans are obese. Why? Food choices. If you talk to any nutritionist, 75% of it is food choices and nutrition, and you're taking away that life skill. When we see students come into our culinary and food department, they can't even chop an onion, let alone a potato, or know what to do with a squash, a potato, nothing. So when they say they can't cook, Lord Jesus, I was like, how did you surprise? I just don't know. So when you talk about food and taking that away, that life skill, come on now, we can't do that. In addition to that, when we think about child development, that is the role of parents in society. That's parenting 101. You're taking away the ability to start teaching. We know that parents are getting younger and younger, and all you guys have kids. I needed a book, right? Where's the book? And this is a guiding them. So we're talking about parenting, getting those life skills into them. In addition to that, we're talking about identity. This is where they're learning about who they are developmentally. We know that identity is a big issue within the high school system, and you're taking that ability away to start educating them. So when you're making this decision, think about these issues. In addition to this, when I looked at the statement, I'm not even going to go into it, but look at the equity issues that we're dealing with here. You're requiring students now to have transportation to go to get these skills, these life skills that everyone does. So when you're talking about financial, making that a requirement, food and nutrition should be a requirement. Child development should be a requirement for every student, because that's life. And careers, there's plenty. You name it, you got an interest, come to see me. I can get you a job easily within food and nutrition. That's all I have to say. Have a great day.
Katherine Clayman.
My name is Katherine Clayman, and I am a senior at Ames High School. This semester, I was in advanced foods, and in my junior year, I was in foods. Learning that the foods program would no longer be available in coming years did not sit right with me. So I started a petition. Due to timing and illness on my part, we only have 130 signatures on the petition so far, but I believe given time, we can get many, many more. Students want to go to this class. Students love this class. There have been many times where I've seen students come in to foods with a frown and leave with a smile. I truly believe that this class is worth taking just as much as any other class. In classes such as math are required, and they're valuable because you may not go into a career that uses math, but you need to know it. I believe the same can be applied to the FCS classes. I believe that they teach life skills that you need going forward. You need to know how to cook, you need to know how to care for a child. And I do not believe that this is a program that we can do away with, that can just be thrown away. I believe that it needs to stay. And even if it is only temporarily pushed aside, there will be so many students denied the opportunity to learn these valuable skills. 600 students isn't just a number. their lives that, believe it or not, are touched by the FCS program in little ways and very big ways. 200 students every year cannot be added to the FCS program, and now with it being taken away, they'll maybe never have the chance to take it. I want to leave you with this closing question. I want to know why a class that exceeds the availability that students enjoy taking, that they want to take, is being discontinued. Thank you.
Thank you, Katherine. Jessennia White.
Hello, I'm Jean Waikiki, 1812 Wilson. I have 2 children that have either been in the school district or still are. We've been in 3 schools, 1 elementary, a middle school, and a high school. We have had 4 superintendents, 7 principals, and 17 years in this district. Some of you recognize me. I've been around for a while. We had a 2015, quit laughing over there, Carol. We had a 2015 graduate from Ames High, and I want to tell you that he received an excellent education at this district. We will be having a 2019 graduate from this district, and I can tell you that the decisions that were made by this district between those two, my 2 sons, for the 2015 graduate and the 2019 graduate, have been some very poor decisions. We can look at the switching of classes in the upper elementaries that were discontinued between the 2 boys. They gave more time to science and to social studies and taught them how to switch classes before they went to middle school and how to turn in assignments. Oldest one got, youngest one didn't. Everyday math, enough said. The literacy block that took time away in the elementary schools from science and social studies. I have outstanding questions on the new science curriculum at the high school. I've asked for data for 3 years on that, and I have yet to receive it. And now we're looking at family and consumer sciences. The 2015 graduate was able to take a foods course. He is a senior in engineering at Iowa State. He can cook. He knows nutrition. He gets exercise. He can cut up a pineapple in a third of the amount of time that his mother can. He can't chop an onion. And he does really well. The youngest one was not able to get into any classes because they've always been full. He can't put dishes in the dishwasher. As a working mom, I have had children in childcare when they were little, and we depended on childcare. And some of those people that were taking care of them came through high school courses like what we have here. And they were excellent. They may have gone on and got a certification, or they may have taken some college credits, but we depended on them. And to get rid of that is a very poor decision. I also, as a working parent, don't like to cook, so I'll be over. We depend on those people at those restaurants to give us healthy food, even if it has to be quick. Those loves come from what you experience in high school. Just like the oldest son, why he loves to eat, and he knows how to cook, he also learned about engineering things at Ames High, which put him into the engineering path. So he became a balanced adult. He knows how to cook. He knows how to take care of his little nieces and nephews from some childcare classes. My brother and sister-in-law beg for him to come help with their kids. And he learned through the math and science programs how to become an engineer. The youngest one had science taken away in the elementary. Can't get into foods. You're shortchanging the children. We're supposedly the #1 district in this state. If you want to keep that ranking, you need to be well balanced, and taking away family and consumer sciences will be a huge blow to that balance and to those kids. We're out of here in May 26th. we're done. So I really don't have anything in this ballgame other than maybe if someday the kids want to get grown up and stay here, maybe there'll be another generation here, and I want them to have an excellent school district, and I don't see it going that way right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeannie. Mary Wasson.
Hi, I'm Mary Lawson. I live at 702 Hodge Avenue. And I had the good fortune to get a job at Ames High as a special needs teacher, and I was there for 23 years. I love to cook, I love to eat, and I was fortunate enough to work with Carol, who welcomed us with open arms, which wasn't always the case. And she was so pleasant to everybody, got to know their names, and they still talk about it. And a lot of those same students are now adults, and they enthusiastically join in with the ARCS cooking program. They've never lost their interest in cooking. And I just, Carol was just so nice to us and to them. She got to know their names, which wasn't always, didn't always happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth Hinson.
Beth Hinson from 1017 Marston Avenue. And I didn't plan on talking tonight, so I'll keep it brief. But I graduated from Ames High School back in 1997. And at that time, I took 4 family and consumer science classes. At the same time, taking a lot of upper level classes in other areas. I did not choose to go into family and consumer science as my career path, but the classes that I did take in high school have been useful just with life in general. I'm concerned some with at-risk kids and just the opportunity that this family and consumer science program gives those kids to learn. Back 20 years ago when I was in classes, not even child development class, but one of my other classes, I particularly remember that there were 8 of the students were teen moms in that class, and so 1/3 of the class were teen moms learning to cook, to use a budget, to, at that time we were learning how to write checks, how to balance a checkbook and everything in those classes. And I just think that that was extremely useful for anybody, but especially some of those girls that had babies and kids at that time. And then also just the opportunity that it gave kids to taking some of the foods classes that were not finding success in other areas of high school, that were able to find success in the foods and nutrition classes and go into careers of being chefs now. So that's me.
Thanks, Beth. Deb Emery.
Hi, my name is Deb Emery, 2811 Northwood Drive. I see you're all wearing clothes. You probably ate, and you're probably here because you like children or you have kids of your own. Think about those 3 things. I attended high school in Northwest Iowa. I did the home ec classes, did the sewing, did the food nutrition classes. I also took a housing program, which I loved. I even entered a house plan in the Iowa State Fair and got a purple ribbon on it. I thought I was going to go in interior design, so I took a year at Iowa State. Decided that quite wasn't my thing, and then I ended up going to the College of Home Economics at that time and did the program called Housing and the Near Environment. I loved it. I thrived. The people at the college were very people-oriented, and they still are today, even more so. That led to me getting an internship with the city of Ames, in which I worked for the city with the federal government program, working with low-income housing families and children. There's such a need for people knowing how to take care of their homes, how to cook, how to, what do you buy? Some people, one gal, I remember going to her house for an inspection, and I would always give them a notice that I was coming, and they would be really concerned about, most of them were concerned about keeping it clean. One gal was proud that she waxed her floor, but she forgot, or she didn't realize that she needed to sweep it up first, so she had waxed the floor with the dirt underneath it. So I had to explain to her what she needed to do. Those are life skills. They're not being taught at home, unfortunately, so we need to teach them. It should be taught at home, but we need to teach them at school too. And I think my kids, they both graduated, one in 17, one in 18. They had to, do the algebra and geometry, which they don't use. They could have definitely benefited from the home ec classes and so forth. One other thing is, I think I heard something about tilapia being raised or something. If you cut those courses, who's going to cook the tilapia? Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Beth Hickman.
Hello, my name is Beth Hickman, and I am a student of Iowa State. I am also a student in the College of Agriculture. I benefited from the high school family consumer science classes that I took. In fact, I don't think I really understood my chemistry high school class until my teacher made a comparison to cooking, and I realized that cooking had so much to do, gave me so much technical and hands-on skills that I could apply to chemistry and to the STEM careers that I'm trying to pursue now. So I think that any kid, regardless of what they're trying to pursue after high school ends, can have a benefit from the family consumer classes offered.
Thanks, Beth. Bria Baumhover.
Hi, my name is Bria Baumhover, and I'm a junior at Iowa State University in Family and Consumer Science Education. My heart was devastated at the thought of eliminating either some or all of the Family Consumer Sciences classes here at Ames High School. Through my practicum experience through school, I had the privilege to work at both the middle school and especially the high school. This experience has helped me create and develop my passion for family and consumer science and teaching. I just want to be a teacher. Not only has the Ames Community School District touched my life, but it led me to my career pathway as it confirmed this. It also, the content that I will soon teach, it affects everybody, every day. Careers such as apparel design, nutritionist, child care provider, financial planner, and many more all start with family and consumer sciences. The career options are limitless, as you can see in your brochure, and even if a student decides to be something else besides the seven content areas of housing, consumer resource management, family studies, food and nutrition, lifespan development, parenting and child development, and textiles, they can at least use these basic skills in their everyday life. You see, family and consumer sciences is so much more than just a subject. It's truly a way of life. I promise you it won't take you long on social media to see for people pleading for life skills in schools. Some might say they are in need of adulting classes, and really that's just what family and consumer sciences is all about. As a future failing consumer sciences educator, I'll teach things such as how to formulate a budget, meal plans, healthy eating, how to be a good consumer, and parenting. And as a college student, I can see that there's a need because I had to help my roommates write a check for utilities. I mean, it's there. It's, you know, the frozen meals are in my freezer. You know, it's there. There's a need for this. So in closing, I would just like to thank Ames for the community school district for an eye-opening and rich experience in the classroom. As I truly feel I am prepared to transition as a student to a teacher. And from an outsider, I grew up in Northwest Iowa, and to see Ames community come together so that everyone can succeed, whether you're in college, you're in middle school, you're in high school, that was so cool. Like, that's awesome. So, on behalf of my peers and I just would like to encourage you to reconsider eliminating the Failing Consumer Science program. And from the Ames High School, as it is a need for current and future students of the Ames community. And I'd like to leave you with this. Are you really ready to eliminate a program that teaches valuable life skills to our youth of today and of our adults of tomorrow? Thank you.
Thank you, Bria. That concludes our public forum time, and I just want to again thank all of the members from the community for coming tonight and sharing your thoughts with us, because we do appreciate the time that you've taken away from your lives to come and share with us. We will go ahead and move on to our discussion items, and the first item up is our policies for discussion. Anything you want to highlight for us?
This is our next round of policies that have been reviewed through the meetings we had with the superintendent and the staff. All of these seemed in order. There was one we pulled to have further discussion on, but yeah.
Yeah, I think they were fairly standard. As you might remember, we are aligning our policies with the model policies recommended by the IASB, and I believe that all of these policies were just straight transfers. So. Okay.
Any questions from the board on the policies that are up for discussion? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move those. Pardon me, is there anyone desiring to comment from the public on our policies for discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and we will then move that to an action item for our next meeting. Next item is the Title III mini grants. Shaylee, there she is, Shaylee Santiago.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
I am not Shaylee Santiago.
Yes, you are not.
My name is Anthony Jones, and I'm really here for support with the work that Shaylee and the ESL team do on a daily basis. And so I'm excited just to be a part of what we want to share with you. And so our ESL program applied for and received funding for two Title III mini grants through Heartland AA at an amount of $5,000 each. The grants require money be spent and receipts be submitted to Heartland AEA for reimbursement. And so we just want to be able to share with you just a little bit of background about the grant and the grants as well as the proposals that were put together. One grant is for supplemental materials that would allow for targeted support for secondary ELs working on foundational reading skills in English. And then the second grant focuses on family engagement. Just to name a few of the goals that we set out to reach for this proposal as well as for this grant is to provide appropriate materials to support phonics instruction and practice for secondary English learners, as well as to see significant growth and English phonics skills for secondary ELs, performing at the lowest percentile on the FAST. For the family engagement part of the grant, we wanted to create a more welcoming environment in our school district for our ELL families through increased signage visible in school buildings in multiple languages. We also wanted to use some of the materials to have more diverse books in the native language of ELs in school and classroom libraries. And so I'm pretty excited about the possibility for us to be able to reach and support as well as engage our families here in our community. The proposals were put together by Shaylee as well as feedback from our district LOUD Plan Committee, which includes our parents, administrators, teachers, instructional coaches. And this year, we had the opportunity to expand our committee by adding one of our EL families in our district as well as their student. And so we had a great time. Oh yeah, and one of our school board members, so you don't want to forget that. And so I've shared enough. I want to turn it over to Shaylee to share with you a little bit about the details of the mini grant.
So as Dr. Jones mentioned, there are 2 different goal areas, and the first one was supplemental materials. So we decided to focus on the need at the secondary level for phonics materials. And so we were able to purchase the Teen Emergent Reader Library from Saddleback Education. We got a set of, it's in 3 levels. So the middle school has 2 sets because we have 2 ESL teachers, one for 6th grade and one for 7th and 8th. And then we have 1 complete set for the high school. I actually brought the books and I left them back at my seat. So they're color, very engaging for students at the secondary level. One concern that comes up sometimes is they look kind of babyish, and these ones don't look that way at all. The bag, if you grab that bag, thank you. And so the text starts out at a very simple level, working on CVC words, and progresses up higher. So we haven't had materials like this at the high school and middle school in the past, so this will be a great addition for us. For the second grant, the Family Engagement Grant, we leveraged our LOUD Plan teamwork that Jamette Colton was part of, and the family that Dr. Jones mentioned. Some of the feedback we got from that family was they're Arabic speakers and they don't see their language in our schools. We have some signage through Transact, if you've seen the welcome to our school sign. The Arabic on that sign isn't their exact Arabic. And so that was one aha for us that we should leverage their involvement and have them maybe even help us create some signage. And so we're working with input from families. There's a parent at Sawyer that also is providing us some input about Chinese. So on the mini grant application, you'll see I listed some possible sources for some of the materials in different languages, especially the books to have in the schools. And then I'm working with other members, family members and community members to help me, vet that list and make sure that we're choosing materials that are going to be appropriate for our students. So specifically, we're looking at getting materials of the books in Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, and then some additional languages as well. So mostly just wanted you to have this information that we got the grants and we're working on these. And I think if you have any questions, we'll be happy to address those.
I just want to say thank you. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, both of you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you reaching out to our families, engaging them, and making this feel more inclusive to them. So thank you for your efforts. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I echoed my fellow board members in being part of the LOUD Plan and having been in the group with the family. That was a treat. They had their daughter, and it was they provided so much input. So I thank you for organizing it.
Thank you for the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the public on the Title III mini grants? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the board committee update. It was a little scarce, but I think that's because we are coming out of winter break. So is there anything that any of you want to highlight that maybe wasn't on the exhibit?
When TLC met, and for purpose of helping out the community and the district. We, our agenda, if you go to the district website, that we have, and you go to the TLC committee piece out of the board committees, our agenda is a running agenda, so it also has the dates of the future meetings and the agenda or what is coming. But some of the things I would like to highlight is that I'm thinking about the ESL program. Dr. Jones presented that we actually were able to translate more documents, more registration packet in different languages. They brought in interpreters, the district brought in interpreters and did that. And it was mentioned that it would be very helpful for kindergarten registration. So that's a biggie. We cover, what else? We covered the literacy review. So right now, we are reviewing 3 programs for a core curriculum. That's basically what we need now. So there were 2 already reviewed, and there's there are 4. Now we have 4. Okay, so those are, okay. Fountains and Pinnell is 1, Lucy Culkin, Wonders in Kid is 1, and then Wisdom is another. Yeah, I'm looking at Amy, because I was thinking those 2 were.
Wisdom is 1, and the second is Wonders.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay, I was thinking. Okay, so that we'll review that. The staff is reviewing that, and we'll have it out in the district office. When is that, Amy? When will we have that available?
We start the week of January 22nd. And also, we just received a report from Deborah Reed through the Iowa Reading Resource Center, who gave us a list. They conducted a survey of the state of Iowa of what programs are being utilized, and we just received those results today. Okay. So there may be additional we may peruse.
Oh, awesome. Okay, all right, thank you. And that's kind of, that was the highlight, yep.
I have a small update from the City Conference Board. On January 7th, we met as a small group to discuss the assessor's budget. Overall, budget looks good. Actually, going to be saving some money this year, which is always nice to see. We should anticipate a flat budget as far as our contributions from the tax basis. So there's been some growth within the city to support our efforts, but overall fairly flat for growth.
Sorry, I forgot one thing that I really wanted to mention. So the Iowa assessment, now it's called the Iowa Statewide Assessment of Student Progress. We talked about this piece as well, and that our window for starting to test its children is April 1st. And it goes, we test grades 3rd to 11th. And those grades will be tested. 3 to 5th will be, they'll do the paper testing, and the older grades will do it online.
What was the name of it?
It's a mouthful. It is ISASP, and it stands for Iowa Statewide Assessment of Student Progress.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do want to update about the Equity Committee real quick, just because what's on the agenda is incorrect. So the Equity Committee has not met since November, when we were finalizing the equity report. We submitted it to the board in December, and we were going to meet in January to have a kind of a debriefing of the members who are going to be cycling off. There was a scheduling conflict, and so now that the semester is off and running and everyone's busy, we're just working through finding a time to get everybody together. So I anticipate that we will probably meet, if not late January, probably sometime in February. And we'll update the community, of course, when we know the exact date.
Any other updates? Any questions from the comments from the public on our board committee updates? Come on.
The times
On the board committee updates, are there any public comments?
Are there any times? I saw the dates.
Are there any times on the committee?
Yes.
Times?
TLC has their next meeting at February 6th from 2 to 3:30.
We do have a SIAC committee meeting tomorrow night, and then Wednesday at 4 there's a technology committee meeting.
All right, moving on to the next item, the update on the rebranding on Ames High School. Eric.
Hello. I wanted to offer a quick update on where we're at as far as the rebranding and online store. So last time, now this was several months ago when I came up and, we talked about the need for rebranding of Ames High, and now being a really great time to be able to do that. And then we also talked about the benefits of having a dedicated 24/7 online apparel store that will serve not only Ames High, but all of our schools and the district as a whole. So since the last time I was up there, we did request proposals from a number of different companies. We sent a request out to 4 for each project, and those are later in the meeting. So we got some really great proposals back, and based on that, we were looking at Ripke Design as far for the rebranding of Ames High, and what they're going to do is start with Ames High, but then integrate all of our other schools into this project so that we can have one consolidated brand standards that will include what we use as a district, and then what the Ames High will be, and that will bring in all of our other schools, and then Sigler for our online store.
Any questions for Eric?
I have a question, Eric. Can you tell us the timeline between when the rebranding for the high school and then kind of integrating the other schools will be?
Yeah, so that will, I don't have a hard number because I've not talked with them yet as far as specifics on that, but we will get started on it. So my end goal would be over the next, I think what they told me was 2 to 3 months that it could take for the rebranding. And then at the same time, we'll have some overlap with the online store, and I'm hoping to launch that in the summer, so that will lead into the next school year. So this spring for the rebranding, summer for the store.
But so I guess what I'm asking is, what I heard you say was that you were going to start with rebranding the high school, and then you would consolidate kind of a rebranding or for the middle school and the elementary school, and that's the gap I'm asking about.
What the time
So that would,
is.
yeah, so are you saying that they're going to start with the high school?
Correct.
And then go to the middle school and elementary? Like, what's that difference in time?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I'm hoping it all to be done this spring.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Eric?
I just have one. So a number of years ago, we went through this portion, it's called a soft rebranding, where we met with the city and we developed this image of the A with a color coordination. Will that then go away, or is any portion of that? Okay, so there'll be some elements
So,
to keep.
Ames High, as sort of, our flagship school, needs to have its own brand. And so this whole project started really with that, and, we have this high school coming up, and so if we were going to rebrand, now's the time to do it before we put all this money into branding our high school. Well, we also we have a great district brand, which we will maintain. We will have a new high school brand, and while we're at it, we're going to consolidate and figure out what we need to do with our middle school and all of our elementaries as well. So they're going to be the expert as far as the graphic design part of it. I'm hoping that we can have a really great Ames High brand. We will keep this brand. That middle part, I don't know what that will look like yet, but the idea is then we will consolidate it all together. Here will be our brand standards. We'll have appropriate file formats for all of it, and then it won't be all over the place as it currently is at some of our elementary buildings.
Well, thanks for your efforts. I think it's greatly needed.
Will the web store have the community branding as well then?
Yes.
So it'll have everything?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I have a question regarding the actual process of doing the rebranding. What kind of input will students, faculty, teachers, parents have in the process that they're going through in the rebranding? And you described it as being sometime this spring. Will any of those be opportunities for them for input?
Yeah, so I don't have exact answers for that, but I know I have already talked to them when I met initially with Ripley, because they had some questions, clarifying questions. The great thing about going with them is that they actually do have a good relationship, not only across the city, but in our high school as well. Like she, as a professional graphic designer, has went into some of our art classes and spoke, and so having that be a part of this process will be very easy.
The question I had is, how much flexibility do we have in helping Sigler to establish the pricing such that we can make sure students and community members can afford the items that are out there for purchase?
Yeah, so my overall reflection on the conversations that I've had with them is they'll accommodate to whatever we want to do.
Any other questions? Thank you for your efforts on this, Eric. We appreciate it. Are there any comments from the public on the update on rebranding of Ames High? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to the 2018-19 NWEA MAP Growth Pilot Proposal with Amy Lane.
Good evening. I'm Amy Lane, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. The reason that this is coming before you today for an information item is to really talk about one of the things that was brought to our attention when I first entered the district was the lack of data and quality assessments to really drive instruction. Also using an assessment that is unbiased and is more equitable for the placement of our students in not only ELP programs but also support services. So we did some research around what has currently been utilized, such as the COGAT, which has been brought to your attention, the NNAT, and there was also a subjective measure for students that were being placed. We wanted to find a tool that was computer adaptive, but also was flexible, so it didn't just box students into one grade level. This is a flexible assessment, so if a student is a fourth grader and testing at fourth grade, it can go both up into the upper grade levels, and it will also go down, giving us a more accurate picture for the placement of students. The other aspect is that all students, grade 3 through 8, will be tested to give all students a chance for appropriate placement in alternative programming. We have a pretty tight timeline because we'd like to get some data in the hands of those making informed decisions. This will not be at the cost of teacher time. We would cadre this in with people that are currently in our system, such as our TOSAs and our instructional coaches. We have looked at the former options, such as the HOPE scale, the Slocum pane, and worked with Steph Shares at the middle school to determine that this would be the assessment to go forward with. Other questions? I gave you guys the purpose statement, so you had all the information. One more thing I want to add is that with the Iowa statewide assessment of student progress that Jamette listed, we will not receive that data until September of next year, which makes it really hard for us to make data-informed decisions about the placement of our students. So this is another tool that we can utilize. So we're using data to drive our decisions.
Any questions for Amy?
How quickly do you get the data from this?
Immediately. Because it's computer-based, the results come back immediately. And they're tested in math, literacy, and science. It's not just isolated to math and literacy. I think the other bonus is that it's one sign-in for teachers that accesses all that data, and it provides supports for teachers to drive instruction and provide strategies and interventions.
Can you describe the logistics for how students would do this? I mean, is it taking them out of the classroom for a certain amount of time, like in groups or individual?
Right.
What's that process actually like?
So the entire test, all three components, math, science, and literacy, takes only 45 minutes.
Okay.
As opposed to something like the ISAS, which takes 4 hours. So it's more cost effective and time effective for us to utilize one tool that is not subjective.
So is the idea to take one student at a time then?
We would do a whole group.
Okay.
So think of a media center, which would be our ideal place, and we would have the devices set for them. We'd bring a class in for 45 minutes, we would assess them, And of course, we would make an accommodation for those students that have accommodations or interventions.
What about sharing the results with the parents?
I think that is an absolute. I mean, I don't think there would be a reason not to. I do know if we were to purchase the suite at some point in time, there is a parent login where they can follow those results. And it's a really user-friendly tool. I think Superintendent Reisner and I have both utilized this tool in other districts and know the data is strong and know that it's user-friendly for those people that may not be overly tech-savvy.
So if I'm looking at this correct, then the training is today?
No, that is a misstep, Monique.
Okay.
I apologize.
So when is the training? Or
The training for our TOSAs will be immediately following this discussion as soon as we can get Teresa here, who leads the NWEA programming.
Okay, and then once the training is complete, when do you expect the assessments to begin?
We have a tentative pilot laid out to accommodate all buildings. We would hope to do Mitchell at the end of the month. Justin Jeffs has been more than willing to say we'll be the first to go. And we would do all others in February. And we would hope to do another testing window in May. So we would have 2 forms of data to look at going forward.
How often would you test if we purchase the package?
Well, I think the utilization of MAP could be in accordance of how the buildings wanted to utilize it and what parameters we set forward as a district. Once you purchase the suite, there's no per assessment cost. They're always at your disposal.
So so we're using it, your proposal is to use it start using it this spring. Okay. Is this taking the place of something else, or if it's not, then what does this cost and where are we getting that money from?
We will get final numbers on that for 3rd through 8th grade. In terms of, I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sure. Well, so is this replacing something else that we're doing now?
Right. Well, we do know, like I said earlier, the Iowa statewide assessment of student progress, those results that we have used for placement in the past will not be to us until September. We also know that data will not be normed until we take the assessment twice. So I think this year and next year we won't have norming data. So this isn't to replace anything at this point in time. It is to pilot it for usability data and also to see if it could take place of some of the other assessments that we utilize. As you know, I think the Teaching and Learning went over the assessment white paper that we created that really shows the vast amount of assessments that we implement in this district. And trying to find one solid suite of assessments so we don't have our teachers having 5 logins to 5 different assessments trying to understand 5 different types of data. So this will simplify things.
I know our interest in that. It relates back to the statewide discussion of the statewide assessment that we've been having for several years, and unfortunately the legislature decided to do something else than follow the lead of educators on that recommendation. So, so my point though is that this is an additional test, and again, where are we getting this money? Are we reallocating funds from somewhere else?
We have money already in the curriculum budget for these assessments. We have always paid for the extended learning testing. I think the thing that we have learned from our past is that only a select group of students were tested. This allows us, for all students, 3A to be tested using this MAP assessment, as opposed to a select group. So we're not missing the students. We're not having to communicate and only having a select group of our community being heard, because we will do it for all students, grades 3 through 8.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Will we hear back from you about the results?
I think that would be fantastic. I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Pending all things go well.
Great. Thank you for your information. Appreciate it.
Sure thing.
Are there any comments from the public on the MAP growth pilot proposal? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to the consent items.
Move approval of consent.
Second.
Moved by Deerdorf, seconded by Beerbaume.
Minutes from the meeting held December 10th, 2018. Financial reports for November 2018. Claims and payroll for November 2018. Personnel report. Gifts to the district, which include Monique for Ames, J.C. Penney Cyber Grants, Johnston Properties, Dean Miller, Colson Powell, Wayne Larson, Barilla, Members First Credit Union, and Sarah Bancroft. Also, contracts and agreements. Agreement with Sigler Companies for online apparel store. Agreement with Ripke Design for rebranding of high school. Media Group for DJ services for prom. CPMI Event Center for prom. And I might say this wrong. Is it Kajit for Wi-Fi hotspots. Open enrollment requests, data sharing agreement template.
It's been moved by Deerdorf, seconded by Beerbaum. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. First action item is the PEPAL budget.
I move the board approve the PEPAL budgets fiscal year 17-18, results fiscal year 18-19, final fiscal year 19-20 initial, 5-year summary budget, and capital projects listed as presented.
Second.
Moved by Rossers, seconded by Benkin. Discussion.
Just want to thank Jerry for this budget. I think he does a great job of managing our resources, and again with the PEPAL committee, I think we have some great discussions on utilization of these resources. I believe we talked about it as a whole board, but I just want to highlight that item 44 talks about the AMS improvements. For a while we were talking about the vestibule, but as a PEPAL committee, it was recommended that we just allow resources for anything within the middle school as Jonas and his staff find appropriate uses.
Any other comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Item 17, whole grade sharing agreement with United Community School District.
I move the board approve the renewal of the one-way whole grade sharing agreement with United Community School District beginning the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
I move the board approve the renewal of the facility and infrastructure improvement program.
Second.
Moved by Beerbaum and seconded by Perez. Any comments or questions? We've been talking about this one for a little bit, so yes, we are finally to the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Item 18, the 2019-2020 modified supplemental amount application for dropout prevention and budget proposal.
I move the board approve the 2019-20 modified supplemental amount application for dropout prevention and budget proposal.
Second.
Moved by Rossers, seconded by Colton. Discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Item 19, conflict of interest waiver.
I move go ahead, you got it.
I move the board approve the waiver of conflict of interest with Ehlers & Cooney, PC, to perform legal work regarding the transfer of the old Edwards property to the city of Ames.
Second. Moved by Perez, seconded by Benkin. Chris, do you want to give a 30-second description to our public of what it is we're approving here?
Sure. So this was a new one for me, and it was a new one for Connor, Lawson, our attorney who works on property. Allers Law Firm does a small amount of work for the city of Ames, mostly in labor negotiations. But because of that, they have ethics rules under the Bar Association and the state of Iowa law that says they have to inform both of us if they're doing work for either one of us. They are not representing the city of Ames on this, they're representing us. And so they're getting a waiver from both of us. I had given you the letter from the attorney that shows there's no conflict on this, but because of the ethics rules, they wanted us to acknowledge that we're waiving that and take board action on it.
I have one question for Jerry. I see that the trucks are now moving away from Old Edwards. Is there any more work that'll be done now that that fence is out, or can the neighborhood expect really no change until we formalize the transfer?
Yeah, the contractor just got started working out there as far as getting the fence removal and the trees out. So once that gets cleaned up, bring a couple loads of dirt in, and then have the city Parks and Rec walk over and accept it, then I think we should be able to push through with this transfer.
Okay, thank you.
Been moved by Perez, seconded by Bankin. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Item 20, Memorandum of Understanding with the Ames Cyclone Aquatics Club.
I move the board approve the memorandum of understanding with the Ames Cyclone Aquatics Club.
Second. Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Rosser. Discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Nay. Sorry. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Passes 7-0. Thank you.
It's the cough drops.
It is the cough drops. Items from the board.
I just want to state, I really appreciate all the feedback we've gotten over the last week and then tonight as well from the community regarding the FCS class. As I reflect, I've always felt our district administration and Spence Evans does a great job of trying to balance the needs of all students. And it can be very hard because we're trying to prioritize limited resources. So a comment I made on Facebook today was just that I truly feel our administration has the best interest of kids at heart. I think we need to talk through some of the ramifications of why this makes sense to really flesh that out for the community. And I think that's the role of our administration, and our board is to then validate that to make sure it makes sense. So I do appreciate all the feedback and the comments. I think there'll be more discussion to come, but it's been a lively discussion.
I know I said it at the end of the public input session, but I do appreciate everyone coming out to share their thoughts, the emails. We do listen, we do read things, and it's a difficult job that our high school principal and superintendent have, and I want you to know that we appreciate the work and your efforts in this and trying to help us to move as we try to identify what are in the best interests of our students. These are tough discussions, and we know that, and we know that we have state mandates that we have to fulfill, but I really appreciate the time and effort of everyone. Items from the superintendent.
I really hope someday the work of the equity gets a standing ovation too. I mean, that's really important. So I want to thank Anita for those comments she made and just the recognition, I think, of the work that's being done. Not always easy conversations and an easy road, but we're working hard. So that being said, I wanted to also follow up on the equity report that we received and just kind of shed some light on where I think we're headed with that. We have been working with Katie and Daniel, as everybody knows, and I have been in conversation with them about an equity audit, a full equity audit, and they are very appreciative of the work that was done in that report because much of that can be used. And so I think it will help speed that process up. We are looking for, I think the last conversation that I had, or I guess email, I call it a conversation, but email, Katie and Daniel were talking to each other. I'm not sure if Amy or Anthony have any information. They met with them today and may have a timeline idea on the audit. I'm not positive. Do you guys have, did they talk about it today?
Yeah, so we met today with Anthony and I and Katie. Daniel was not able to be there, and Dan Andrews and Lisa Claybird to talk about what data they collected last year and tweaks and adjustments that we can make to have more utilization of the data. And Katie will be guiding us through that process based on the work she and Daniel have done with other districts. So I feel that we're on the right path. We have incredible consultants leading us through this journey. So,
thank you.
Anything else?
We were able to get more details from having Dan there, being able to talk about the data and how to clean that up so we'd be able to have access to it. And so with him being there with the meeting today, with Katie and Daniel, we feel pretty good with the next steps that we're going to take to do the equity audit, equity audit.
So I think that's next steps. And then my thought would be once we have that full equity audit, I would think it would be good for us to do a work session around it and line out. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
One other thing is January 28th is the eve that Katie and Daniel will present an overview of the trainings that we have conducted this year, and in addition, they'll speak to the equity audit.
Questions from the board around that?
So the Daniel and Katie will be here at the board meeting? Okay.
Oh, good point. Sorry. Forgot about that.
Any other updates?
All right. The other update that I had was around the budget process and just kind of a quick update on where we're at. Chris and I met end of last week and kind of took a deeper dive into where we're at currently and kind of some projections going forward. A couple weeks ago, I had sent the principals a template to begin planning within their building around just getting an idea around what curriculum needs, what technology needs they have, and what staffing needs. And then the plan is to continue to have those discussions with the directors, doing that same process. Today we brought together the elementary principals and the directors to go through their building's budget requests for next year with the goal of leaving there with like top 3 priorities in each area. We were able to accomplish that, and then we'll do secondary, I believe at the end of the week. Chris and I and the directors will meet with secondary principals to go through their needs and again prioritize, and then we'll have the same session with the directors. After that is complete, our plan would be to then bring that information to, make sure I get this right, the Budget and Audit Committee, and begin the process of laying out the deeper discussion with them that goes a little deeper into.
Right, I think that'll be the second part. The audit is done, I just haven't got it back yet, and I haven't got the notice to get onto the Federal Clearinghouse and get that done yet, so I expect that this week. Once I have that, I'll schedule a Budget and Audit Committee, and I've already talked to Tim Oswald about coming and speaking to the Budget and Audit Committee and going over the forecasting model and doing the high level, and then as Superintendent Reisner gets through, I kind of consider the meetings like we did today to be the weeds, and once we get those kind of sorted, then we'll bring that up to a higher level at the Budget and Audit Committee. So that's kind of, I think, the way we're looking at it. But there'll be a meeting before we get to that point with Tim Oswald to go over forecasting and where we are right now, where we see ourselves in 5 years, and the big piece that's missing, obviously, is supplemental state aid.
And that meeting that Chris is referring to will be with, and I think you said this, with the Budget and Audit Committee with Tim and that deeper dive, and then bringing the priorities to that committee as well, and then of course a report back to the board throughout the process. That's all I have.
Okay. How about the board planning calendar? We can talk about our upcoming meetings.
We have a meeting on January 23rd. This will be a work session with IASB. It'll be Harry, and Harry is bringing the IASB attorney so that we can ask some questions of the attorney, as well as we look at the two policies that we had pulled off earlier this, well, I guess it was early winter, late fall, to discuss deeper. Regular board meeting on the 28th. And just one other quick item, and I don't believe I brought it with me, but the, forgot what it's called here, Legislative Day.
February 5th.
Day at the Hill.
Yeah, Day on the Hill.
Okay, and I know you are registered for that, right? Correct. Okay.
Anybody's welcome.
Anybody's welcome,
That's right.
exactly. So if you would like Kim to help you get registered for that, just let her know, and we can work on getting you registered.
Right.
Question, the 23rd time, what time we start?
5:30.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Moved by Perez, seconded by Rosser. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Thank you.